Welcome to New Hampshire's Business. I'm Fred Coker. The New Hampshire legislature is back in Concord at the State House and proposing bills on everything from housing and child care to taxes, tariffs, and AI. With me to brief us on legislation important to New Hampshire's business community is the president and CEO of the BIA, the Business and Industry Association of New Hampshire, Mike Skelton. Welcome.
Thanks, Fred.
To have you. 1,000 bills. I understand you're focused on 300 plus at the moment. Any particular focus?
Absolutely. I think the issues of housing, childcare, energy, and workforce continue to be the dominant issues of most importance to the business community.
Okay. Here's some legislation that was just proposed. Let's take a look at it. Allowing residential development in commercial zones, establishing child care creation business tax credits, creating tax on second homes and a tax exemption on first-time home buyers, and a small business tax credit for tariff costs, plus a tariff stabilization fund. Those are two different bills. What about tariffs? Are businesses so impacted by tariffs now that we need legislation?
Yeah, there's absolutely a direct impact that many businesses have been feeling, continue to feel, but I think the larger impact that we've heard from members is the uncertainty. We still have a pending Supreme Court decision around tariffs, what that'll mean in terms of future tariff rates, and so the uncertainty impacts businesses' decision-making around hiring and investments. The sooner we have clarity on what that policy is going to be in the long term, the better for businesses.
Now, looking at that list, I know you're supporting allowing residential development in commercial zones, right?
Absolutely. This is an important bill that was passed last year. There are some attempts to roll back some of the positive progress on housing that were made last year with commercial and residential zoning reform, as well as accessory dwelling units. We're going to be opposing any efforts to roll back pro-housing reforms. We need that in New Hampshire.
What about establishing a child care creation business tax credit?
Yeah, I think this is a year where we've heard bipartisan support from the governor to both parties in both houses of the legislature that they want to do something significant on child care. There's some momentum behind creating a tax credit that will allow employers to invest in child care facilities to expand capacity.
Right.
And I think it's a really smart move.
Okay. Here's an additional list. Let's take a look at it. Legislation just proposed repealing the business profits tax, cutting the business enterprise tax to 0.5%, regulation of artificial intelligence, incentivizing artificial intelligence. Those are two different bills. Creating a credit energy efficiency and nuclear authority, and sending $15 million to the university system and $3.5 million to the community college system. What about those repealing the business profits tax and cutting the business enterprise tax?
Yeah, we have
Where are you on that?
Yeah, we have to remember it's an election year, so there's a lot of tax policy bills that have been filed that I think are part of a campaign strategy. The fact of the matter is it's a non-budget year, so I think the likelihood of tax policy getting to the finish line, probably unlikely.
How about regulating artificial intelligence or incentivizing it? Two different bills.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of technology, policy, innovation, AI regulations. I think our main concern here is that this is a very fast-moving, evolving area of our economy, and we need to understand the implications of the regulations that are being proposed before we move too quickly. Some of the bills that I've introduced this year, I think we're concerned about that they would stifle innovation, and we need to wait and see as this area develops.
Energy. Creating an energy efficiency and nuclear authority. What about that?
Yeah, there's no secret. We need to look at all options to lower energy costs in New Hampshire. And so there's been a renaissance in terms of looking at nuclear energy as a resource, and some bills proposed to do that. Energy efficiency is obviously an important strategy. We also think in industrial self-generation and allowing manufacturers and large energy users to use solar as a strategy to offset their energy is one of the best short-term strategies. The legislature has a bill in to do that, and we think it should move forward.
Let's take a look at this graph. This is a graph, labor force participation rate for New Hampshire. You can see it has, the last several years, it has gone way down. Now, that raises the question, Mike, you have, and you've embarked on what you're calling a workforce system redesign. What will that look like?
Yeah, well, I think there's a real clear sense in New Hampshire that workforce and the future of our workforce is one of the most important impacts to our economy. Even though labor force participation has gone down, we still have one of the highest rates in the country. And we need to be thinking about how do we secure the workforce of the future. This is going to be a multi-year effort, but it is the single most important issue to the future of our economy is finding and attracting workers.
Mike Skelton, President and CEO of the New Hampshire Business and Industry Association of New Hampshire. Thank you.